In this video, we're going to draft the front bodice using a ruler and our mechanical pencil. Using the measurements that we took in the Taking the Measurements video that you should have on your measurement sheet, all the numbers that you need to draft your front bodice. The first line we're going to draw is a horizontal line equal to half the full width of bust. And mark points 1A. And from point 1, square a line up 2.5 inches and mark point B. From point B, square a line out to the right about 1 inch. Subtract the above bust width from the full width of bust and record the difference. Now the above bust width should be a smaller number. From point B, on the squared line, measure off half the recorded difference of the above bust width and the full width of bust and mark point 2. The next line we're going to draw is the center front line any length through points 1 and 2. And this is your center front. So you're going to write that on your pattern so that you can identify the center front. From point 1 on line 1A, measure off half the bust point distance and mark point 3 and square a line down about 6 inches towards the waist. Square a line off the center front line 2.3 and mark point C. From point A, square a line up and down any length. Usually it's about 6 inches. This line right here is going to your arm's eye up and your waistline down. It's very important that this is accurate. From point C on the center front, measure up the depth of bust and mark point 4. From point 4 on the center front line, measure down the full length and mark point 5. It's very important that you get this correct. And from point 5, we'll measure up the center length and mark point 6. From point 4, square a line equal to half the across chest and mark point 7. And square a line down about 5 or 6 inches. From point 5 to any place on the line squared down from point 7. Draw a line equal to the slope of shoulder and mark point 8 and square a line out to the right, a short line about 1 inch. From point 6 to any place on the short line squared out from point 8, draw a line equal to half the across shoulder and mark point 9. From point 9 to any place on line 4-7, draw a line equal to the shoulder width and mark point 10. So your shoulder width is going to be the same for the front and the back. From point 10, square a line down, crossing line 6-9, and mark that intersection point 11. Next, draw a smoothly curved neckline from points 10 to 6. From point 9, measure down 4 inches to any place on line 7 and mark point D. 9D is part of the full side length, and it's the same for all sizes, but if you remember, we took the measurements from the tip of the shoulder, 4 inches around the arm's eye, and down the center side to the waist. And that would be the remainder of your full side length from point D. Draw a line equal to the remainder of the full side length from point D to any place on the line squared down from point A and mark point 12. Draw a line equal to the center side length up from point 12 to any place on line A and mark 13. So that means from point 12 that you just made, you want to go your center side length up to your arm's eye point. That measurement that you took in taking your measurements is going to be the same for your front and your back. It's very important that they match. At the end of the draft, we're going to put them together. We're going to walk them out and make sure that they match before we cut it out. You can draw a smoothly curved arm's eye from point 9D. From point 5, on the center front line, square a line crossing the line squared down from point 3 and mark that intersection point E. And draw a line from point E to point 12. And measure line 5E12 and record that. Now subtract half the front waist measurement from the recorded 5E12 measurement. The difference between the two measurements is your bust dart measurement, and record that. We're going to draft the bust dart. Now this draft, this is where we don't need to transfer our dart value from the waist. In a front bodice draft, the standard front bodice draft, according to Esther, Kaplan, Pivnick, which is the method that we're using right now, and in the resources I've given you a link to that book that you can find it and you can follow along and you can do this very draft. However, I have re-engineered this entire process to draft it specifically for a swimsuit so that we can accelerate the process and bypass all of the other little intricacies that we have to go through to develop our front bodice. Since we're not doing a sleeve and we're not using pants to draft our swimsuit, I'm actually saving you many hours, many steps of your pattern development just by doing this one thing right here from point 5. On each side of point E, measure off 5/8 of an inch and mark each of those sides F and G. From point 3, measure 1.5 inches down and mark point L, and measure out to the right 1.5 inches and mark point M. This is the accelerated process right here in the bust draft. On the center front, square a line out from point 5 equal to half the front waist measurement plus 1.25 inches, which is line FG, and mark point W. This is going to change, but for now we just need you to mark at point W. Subtract line FG from the bust start measurement and record. And divide the recorded measurement by 2 and record. Add 1/2 of the divided bust start measurement to the top of point A and mark point N, and 1/2 of the recorded bust start measurement to the bottom of point A. Now this is your bust start legs, and therein lies the transfer. There's no need to transfer the bust start because we've just created it at the exact point that it needs to be on your body. Great, right? Connect points L and F and G, this is your waist start measurement, and points M to N and O to M. That is your bust start legs. The last thing that we need to do is we need to fold out our bust start on leg OM, fold it up, and then we're going to make sure that it's nice and even, nice and pretty as I say. From point 13, we're going to draw in our stitching line while the bust start is folded out. We need to measure down the center side length amount. From point 13, we're going to make a new point W because that should change. And then we're going to fold out the waist start with our hip curve ruler. Draw in a smooth waistline curve stitching line from point 5 to the new point W. We're going to add 5/8 seam allowance and draw in a cutting line and cut that to complete our bodice draft. Now, if you're using a dress form like I am, in the explanation sheet, step 33 explains that you will extend line 13 and W about 1/2 inch is a fair amount because you're going to do the same to the back. We're going to add 5/8 seam allowance to that line while the dart is folded, and then we're going to cut that line and leave it for the moment. And then that will make the fitting a lot easier because the dress form is very unforgiving, doesn't move, so you never know how much you're going to need or not. And that's what I do. So it's easier that way. And that's going to conclude our front bodice draft. In the next video, we're going to draft the back bodice. So, I'll see you in the next video.